Mr. President, distinguished colleague, the report of the Senate Committee on Appropriation on the 2024 Act Amendment Bill. The Senate President, distinguished colleague, the first page is introduction. The Senate may recall that on Wednesday, 17 July 2024, the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, transmitted to the Senate a bill for an act to amend the Appropriation Act of 2024 and to provide for the sum of 6.2 trillion naira, which comprises of 3.2 trillion naira for capital expenditure and 3 trillion naira for the recurrent expenditure. Mr. President, page 2 of the report has to do with the objective of the bill, and the 2024 Appropriation Act Amendment Bill seeks to, among others, make additional fund for renewed hope infrastructural development projects to be undertaken across the country and to meet other recurrent expenditure requirements such as the minimum wage increase necessary for the effective governance of this country. Mr. President, 3.0 has to do with the legislative action, which has to do with the procedure that was followed in the consideration of the documents sent to us by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Mr. President, page 3 of the report has to do with the observation of the committee, which is on 4.0. The committee observed as follows: the need to provide for the government equity component of the renewed hope infrastructural project and other critical projects to be undertaken across the country, and other recurrent expenditure requirements like the provision for new minimum wage, among others, which necessitated the request for the amendment of 2024 Appropriation Act. 5.0. Mr. President, 5.0 of the report on page 3 has to do with the revenue projection to finance the 6.22 trillion amendment being sought by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The additional expenditure contained in the amendment bill will be financed by the one-time windfall tax or levy on banks' foreign exchange profit for the year 2023 as approved by the National Assembly and other independent revenue and sources of revenue of the federal government. Recommendation. Mr. President, still on page 3, 6.0 has to do with the recommendation. The Senate President, distinguished colleague, the committee hereby recommend that the Senate do consider and approve the amendment of a bill for an act to authorize the issuance from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation the total sum of 35,055,536,770,218 naira, only of which the sum of 1,746,788,150 only in for the statutory transfers, while 8.2 trillion only for the debt service and 11.268 trillion naira expenditure, while the sum of 13.77 trillion 0.25 billion naira 94,384 naira for the Capital Development Fund expenditure for the year ending on 31st day of December 2024. In conclusion, page 4, consequently, we thank the Senate President, the leadership of the Senate, and all senators for the support given to the committee in processing this bill. We also thank members of the committee and secretariat staff for working tirelessly in order to meet up with the time given by the Senate in processing the bill. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I so submit.
Then Baroji is my name. Mr. President, as a former chairman of the Committee on Appropriations, let me say with full authority that the committee has done a good job by the time it has taken to do this very, very complex and important assignment within a very short period of time. And the report as put together is well packaged and well done in the best professional manner possible, quite direct to the point, and having no issues at all. I commend the chairman who is experienced, who has been in the system of budgeting for quite a long time, and also an accountant, a professional accountant. The job I want to commend the members of his committee for a job well done. Without much ado, let me urge my colleagues, because of lack of time, that we go straight away to give our note of approval to the report, because it's a well put together report and well done. Mr. President, I so submit.
Hello? Is anybody opposed to this appropriation? Okay. So I put the question. Those in support that this bill be now read a third time? It was in front of me. Senate leader, go there. Let me even say, I think on that, I think it's too much of him. I think resolve it to Committee of Supply in order to consider this appropriation.
Mr. President, of supply to enable us to consider the report. I so move, Mr. President.
Distinguished colleagues, a motion has been moved that we resolve into Committee of Supply to consider this report. Those in support of the motion and second, they say aye. And those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate in the Committee of Supply considered the report of the Committee on Appropriation on the 2024 Appropriation Amendment Bill 2024 and approved as follows. Part A, total share of Federation revenue as recommended. Part B, total deductions as recommended. Part C, total share of Federation revenues as recommended. Part D, total independent revenues as recommended. Part E, total defense dividends as recommended. Part F, total aids and grants as recommended. Part G, total special levies and accounts as recommended. Part H, total GOE's revenue net of operating surpluses as recommended. Part I, the totality of the appropriation, including the amendments, as recommended. Part J, total statutory transfers, as recommended. Part K, total debt service, as recommended. Part L, total recurrent expenses, non-debt, as recommended. Part M, total capital outlay in terms of expenditure as recommended. Aggregate expenditure as recommended. Clauses 1 to 12 as recommended. Short title clause 13 as recommended. Long title page 1 as recommended. Explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of Supplies? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate. Leader of the Senate. Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to amend the Appropriation Act 2024 to provide for the sum of 6,222,595,926,139 naira only. Of which 3,222,595,926,139 naira only for capital expenditure, and the sum of 3 trillion only for recurring expenditure. Third reading taken. (2024) Appropriation Act to authorize the issue from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation of the sum of 3 trillion 200 billion only for capital expenditure, and the sum of 3 trillion only for recurrent expenditure for the year ending 31st day of December 2024. Third reading taken and passed. Let me commend the chairman of the Senate Committee on Appropriation and members of this committee for expeditious manner in which they carried out this assignment, and pray that the amendment will enable the country to reach its El Dorado and bring about a renewed hope, and also stem the tide of protests by the labor unions, and particularly commend Mr. President for the agreement reached in this minimum wage saga, and pray that at the end of the day, Nigeria will be better with this budget as amended. I congratulate all of us for our contributions and our cooperation, and of course our sacrificial nature to the development of our dear country. I thank you all. Leader of the Senate, you may wish to suspend every other item on the other paper to enable us proceed on a short break to come back and reconsider the votes and proceedings of the Senate.
Well, Mr. President, Senate Committee on Finance apologize to both the President and our distinguished colleagues.
Distinguished Senate Leader, please let's proceed as directed by the Senate President. We move a motion for us to suspend other items on the paper and proceed on recess, so that we can come back and consider what we have done here. Is that the view of the Senate?
Mr. President,
those in support of what the Senate President has said, can you say aye? Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Please proceed as directed by the Senate. Don't go into that, please.
Mr. President, may I respectfully just request that you listen to the chairman of the Senate Committee on Finance upon your ruling.
Distinguished colleagues, is it the view of the Senate that we go on recess to come back and consider the votes and proceedings? Those in support say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Distinguished Senator Mongunu, can you move a motion in line with the Senate decision? Move a motion in line with the Senate decision, please. We go on a recess. Move a motion in line with the Senate decision.
But this is your function now. Why should I do your function?
Thank you. Thank me.
Okay, Mr.
Motion to be seconded.
And we don't need a motion.
No, sir. We don't need the motion. It's past 3. It's for you to just.
Okay. Distinguished colleagues, In line with the decision of the Senate leader looking into our rules, this Senate is hereby adjourned till 4:30. Clerk, will 4:30 be appropriate, or do we look at 5? Huh? You will try. So the Senate is hereby adjourned to 4:30 p.m. To reconvene to look at the votes and proceedings of the day.